Hi, welcome to Community Homeworks Workshop this evening. We're glad you're joining us. My name is Tiana Harrison, and I'm the Education and Volunteer Coordinator here at Community Homeworks. If you're watching this live, please feel free to comment to let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you would like to join the discussion or ask a question, please put that in the comments as well. If you are watching this after the live broadcast, we're still happy that you're here and ask that and you can still ask questions in the comment sections, but it might take a little longer for us to respond. Community Homeworks is a nonprofit organization with a mission to empower homeowners to maintain safe, sustainable, and dignified homes. We get our fundings from grants, gifts, and donations. So if you find value in this workshop tonight, we encourage you to donate on our website, communityhomeworks.org. Tonight's workshop is a rain barrel build class, and our instructor is none other than Mr. Todd Holm and Jason Byler. Thanks for being here, both of you guys, and we look forward to learning more about rain barrels.
Great. Thanks, Tiana. Let's see, where can we be seen? We got to cut off our heads. That's cool. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Todd and I used to work together here at Community Homework, so it's kind of like a reunion tour today.
It is a reunion.
And we're looking forward to doing this. We also have one person in the studio audience today, so we'll probably try to get them out of their seat and help us out a little bit. But we are going to be building a rain barrel, and basically we want a way to catch water. Now, why would we want to catch water? Do you have any reasons?
Water our garden.
Water your garden? What do you want to catch water for? Okay. She said use up as much of the reusable, renewable resource as we have, instead of it just going into the gutters or out onto the grass or something like that. So we want to try to conserve our water a little bit. We're lucky here in Michigan that we have an abundant supply of water. It's not like we're running low on water, and our water is fairly cheap. But with climate change and with other changes in our environment, that's probably going to change. It's probably going to get much more expensive. One of the other reasons that people do rain barrels is because they don't want to water their garden or their plants with chlorinated water, because some plants are sensitive to chlorine. And if you're on city water, there is some chlorine in there as well. So it's a reason to do that. I've got a friend out in Lawton who has a shed on his property, but does not have a house, and so does not have a well, does not have city water. So he collects rainwater to water his garden. That's the only water he has. That's how he waters everything, is with rainwater, or else he has to carry things from home. So lots of reason to collect water.
Right.
If you live in California, from what I understand, they charge you. You're not allowed to take the water. It belongs to the state.
Right.
But here in Michigan, if you collect water off your roof, it's okay to use for watering. So
we're a long ways from California.
We're a long ways from California. Thank you. I'm so glad we are.
Yes.
So our goal tonight is to be able to collect a little bit of water, or a lot of water, if we want to collect a lot of water. We have 55-gallon drums here that we're going to be talking about how to collect water with that. But you wouldn't have to use a 55-gallon drum. You could use whatever holds water. You could use a bathtub. You could pipe your water from your roof into your bathtub if you'd like. You could use 5-gallon buckets. You could use, what other weird things have I seen? Trash cans, or
for sure.
I don't know. What other ideas do you have?
Oh, I mean, you covered them.
We covered them. Okay.
Anything that's a bucket.
Anything that's like a bucket.
A vessel.
Oh, one of the reasons I forgot to say why you might do a rain barrel is if you have trouble with water in your basement. So if you have a gutter that comes down next to your house and you want to get that water away from your house farther, you could run it into a rain barrel and then run it from there out into your yard or farther out to get it away from the house, so that you're not getting so much water in the basement. I actually have a swimming pool at my house, and I use a rain barrel to collect the water to put into the swimming pool so that it's preheated, and also I'm not running city water into the swimming pool. So it's another idea on why to do it.
And it's softened.
And it's softened, right. I found that it's a little more difficult to get all the chemical balance just right with rainwater,
right.
But because you get all kinds of gunk off the roof and out of the gutters and
Right.
all that. But that's okay.
Gunk is good.
Gunk is good. So
Especially
we
in
want
a
to
rain
build
barrel.
a rain barrel. What is important for a rain barrel? Why do you want to do a barrel instead of a bucket?
Well, you want a food grade barrel for
You want a food grade barrel. Okay, that's true.
That's important. You don't want something that's had oil in it.
Right.
Preferably honey, maybe. So, but food grade barrels where you start.
Okay. The barrels we're using tonight were donated to us at a past workshop by Bell's Beer. So thank you, Bell's Beer. Unfortunately, when I contacted them last week, they said they didn't have any barrels available. They've changed how they're doing some of their ingredients, and so they're using fewer barrels. But we're still hoping to be able to get some barrels from them once in a while in the future. We might just have to store them here instead of having them stored at Bell's. But I think these are all Bell's barrels here. You can also find barrels for sale along the road sometimes. You can find barrels on Facebook Marketplace and at Craigslist, places like that.
For sure.
Anything else? Is that the only place people do classifieds anymore?
I have not seen a classified ad in a long time. Although there is that free paper.
Oh, the free paper. Maybe it's in there too. I haven't looked in there for barrels.
We got a puppy last year out of that free paper.
Oh, nice.
So
a puppy.
it can happen.
Okay. A puppy. Nice.
It's not a rain barrel. But.
Barrels usually cost, 5, 10, 15 bucks a piece if they're nice food grade ones. And like Todd said, we don't want to use something that was used for something toxic. We don't want to use something that had chemicals in it, or it's going to kind of defeat the purpose of trying to save all the water in there because it's going to mess up that. So we want a way to get the water into the barrel, and then we want a way to get it to where we want it in the yard. We want it to be able to move it wherever we want it, right?
Right.
So what do we want to do to get it into the barrel?
Well, we have to work on the top.
We have to work on the top, okay.
We have instructions.
We do have instructions,
so
okay.
we should follow instructions.
Okay, you want to follow the instructions?
Well, I like following instructions just because it works. Where would you start, Jason?
I would try to figure out a way to catch it in there.
Yeah.
And so we could just put this under the eaves of the house, like under the edge of the roof if you don't have a gutter. But if we already have gutters, we could get the rain into the gutters and then direct it into the rain barrel. But you have to keep your gutters cleaned out then, right? Because that could be a problem. Otherwise, it just runs over the edge. And I think we have another question over here. Go for it. You can use your mic. That's fine. Okay. How long can water stay in the rain barrel? I will say that it gets a little stinky after it's been in there a while because there's bacteria and so on that gets in there. And we will talk a little bit more about how to keep it as fresh as possible. But this time of year with not having much rain, I've got some in my rain barrel. It got filled up at home, and I have to say it's a little stinky now.
Yeah.
So you would not want to drink it. You probably wouldn't even want to bathe in it because it would be stinky. But you do have water for things like watering, and the plants aren't going to care if it's stinky or not. They're not going to mind at all.
I think they like it better. I mean, there's some.
I think the plants probably
especially
like
because it's probably from leaves.
the stink. Yeah,
and it's probably from other things that have been in your gutter, that
moss.
leaves and things that are in there and mixing in with the water. It's kind of a natural.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that?
Yeah.
That seems logical.
Do you have something else you wanted to say, Bree? No, she's good. Okay.
I mean, you can always question.
You can always what?
You can always question. But
Right.
to me, that's what, when I look at my rain barrel, it has this, kind of like sludge at the bottom of debris. And when it's mixed in with the water, I mean, it might smell, but my plants love it. So, I mean, I can't complain. So,
and I usually rinse mine out once a year.
Yeah.
Turn it upside down over the winter so it
For
doesn't
sure.
just accumulate in there in the wintertime. But
right.
that sludge is in there, and it isn't real pleasant.
No.
But
just
don't look in. You're good then, right?
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing.
So we need to get it into the rain barrel. We've got a couple different ways that it comes down from gutters. Usually you'll have a gutter pipe, something like this, coming off your roof. and you might have to cut it to get it to the right size to make it fit under your rain barrel, depending where you set your rain barrel. Some people have a, why can't I figure out how this goes? There we go. Some people have an elbow at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could even help that to help it go in. I have one at my house that I don't even have a lid on.
Right.
So it's just open like this. And I took a piece of screen and stretched it over the top, and then it just gets filtered as it goes in there.
Now, what else does the screen do?
What else does
You know,
the screen do?
why do you want to screen the water?
Well, you want a
before
screen
go?
to keep the little kids out because you don't want anybody swimming in it.
There is that.
And you also want a screen to keep the mosquitoes out because mosquitoes can be a problem in our Michigan summers.
Yes.
So you do want some sort of a screen. I also tend to put the little mosquito dunks in mine. I don't know if you've done that with yours or not. They're little things you can pick up at the hardware store. They're usually a little circle, and they have a bacteria in them that actually eats the mosquito larvae, so it doesn't develop. But it's a naturally occurring bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis. How about that?
That's awesome.
So you can keep them out that way too.
But then the mosquito larvae kind of add to that.
That's true. They add to the sludge. At the bottom.
So,
all right.
Which is good for the plants.
So if we have a lid, what do we do there to get through that hole in the lid? Because we've got holes in this lid, right? All right. These little spots here, these are openings where when this was at Bell's, they probably opened it up and used it to pump whatever was in this out, whether it was honey, whether it was flavoring, whatever. So they would have had to open these holes. These are called bung holes or bung openings. And it's kind of cool because we have a cool tool that works with this. This is called a bung wrench, what Todd's holding. And it's got little prongs that fit down in there.
Maybe.
Let's see.
Not in this one.
Let's see if you can get the other one.
Yeah, there we go.
We can unscrew that lefty-loosey. You're doing a great job, Todd.
I've done this before. I feel like it. All right.
All right. So we could use that one, or we could use this one here. I did find that most of our barrels that we get from Bell's have two different sizes of thread. And so one is a fine thread, one is a coarse thread.
Do you want to take this one out too?
We can. Do you know how to take it out?
Well,
are you smarter than a community homeworks person? Oh, he got it with that. Okay. So he's using the slip joint what did we call it?
This is what 30 years of building experience gets you.
Look at that. Oh, that one has two. They look like the same coarseness of thread.
Oh, yeah. Same thread.
Same thread. Okay.
Yep.
So we could use either one. Do we want both of them open?
For any reason? This one has like a plug inside of a plug.
That has a plug and a plug.
So I don't know. There's no reason really you want water to come out the top. You really are just using the top to collect the water.
Okay.
So I would just put one back in.
Okay.
If you're only going to use one. But if pressure builds up.
Okay.
And you're finding that if you try to put too much pressure here, if this connection is too tight, this will allow you to drain water easier when you have more air inside the barrel.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, so how do we get the water from here into there, Todd?
Well,
I'm just going to stand here and hold the water.
My off screen here. Let's see. Are both these the same?
They should both be the same.
They are. So this is a union that would go from what is this, 2-inch?
I think it's 2-inch threaded.
2-inch threaded to a
2-inch
solvent
slip. Call it a slip.
Slip. Okay.
Slip
For a
joint.
rain barrel, it's a slip.
Okay.
Sounds good. So we screw that one in. Do we need any type of solvent on it? Or
I don't think we need any solvent because this is all just going in with gravity.
Yeah. Okay. So
can we see that, or should we lower? I'm going to move this down so we can see the top a little easier.
Oh yeah.
Can we still see it? We can still see it.
You can kind of do this.
All right. Beautiful.
So that's been screwed onto there like that. Awesome.
Okay. And then what else do we need?
Well, looks like we need some kind of. So this is just 2-inch pipe.
This is just a short piece of 2-inch pipe.
Yeah, and then this cap
2-inch
goes
PVC.
on.
Oh, what's that cap going to be called?
This would be a reducer from a 4-inch to a 2-inch line reducer. Okay. It's all stuff you can get at a hardware store, so it's really pretty easy to get. So, and then
is this expensive?
Nowadays, yes.
It's plastic stuff, so it's not as expensive as wood.
It's not at all. I mean, you probably can buy a rain barrel for what, $50-$60. You can probably,
I think they're higher than that, but
yeah. I mean, I think you can. This is under $20.
Under $20.
So, and then your downspout, right?
Whichever way you want it to go in, yeah.
I mean, it fits in there
right in like that.
Every which way, so yep. However it comes out of your gutter. Mm-hmm. I like to raise my barrel up.
How high?
Because when you're watering, I have mine hooked up to a hose.
Okay.
And so when you're watering, I'm tall, so I mean my head doesn't even fit in the screen.
Right.
So, the hose, since I'm holding it up so high, when the water gets halfway down, I'll lose that pressure and not be able to water like the herbs on the other side of the garden.
Mm-hmm.
So
the higher your rain barrel is off the ground, mm-hmm. the more water pressure you'll have in your hose.
Absolutely.
I actually raised mine up on 4 cement blocks.
Yep.
So two on the lower level, 2 on the second level, so that I could fit my watering can underneath or a bucket underneath.
Yep.
But also so that I have a little bit more drop so that I can water things with a little bit more pressure.
Right.
I can get a little bit more water pressure out at the end of the hose.
Now, where's the screen for this?
Oh, I don't know. Isn't there one over here?
Well,
we used to have a screen.
I think there's. Is this what you're...
So this is what I normally use. Let's see, which camera are we at? This is what is that? 1/4-inch hardware cloth.
1/4-inch hardware cloth. Yeah.
And so I cut it into a square that would fit inside of the what we use as a funnel, which is the reducer. So I can slide it right in there. And that helps to keep the crud out, like the leaves and the moss and things like that. The only problem I've run into with this is when I've got the gutter running straight into there, the leaves and the moss get down in there and they end up plugging that spot up. So every once in a while you have to pull this up out of the way, scoop the junk out, throw it over in your flower bed or something, and put it back in. Mm-hmm. But also the 1/4-inch. So the 1/4-inch keeps the debris out, but doesn't do anything for mosquitoes. The mosquitoes are going to go right through that. So we would need a finer screen if we were going to do that. But a finer screen is also going to clog up a lot quicker. So we don't necessarily want to use a finer screen if we don't want to have to clean this out every time it rains, basically.
Right. If you could figure out a way to make this really wide, and you can get creative with this stuff. I mean, and maybe there's a way to prevent it from where this is kind of up off not sitting down inside where it's just dumping into there. You might find that that's a little bit easier to clean out. You're in your garden every day anyway, so you might as well.
Well, hopefully you are.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I have one that didn't come with a lid. And so as an experiment, I just took a piece of window screen, stretched it over, and tied it to the top with a piece of like bungee cord.
Brilliant.
And then I have it coming down just above it like this in the gutter, and it is a large enough surface area that it doesn't get clogged up in there. I can just walk along, scoop it up, throw it at the kids, whatever, and we're all good.
You can get hardware cloth that could even...
We could, but I figured if I have window screen, it's going to keep the mosquitoes out better.
Well, no, I mean as both.
Oh, have both.
Yeah, I think the one I had, I've had to replace it a few times because it gets, just gets rusted out. But,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is how we can run it in there.
Yeah.
Are there other ways of running it in there?
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, lots of ways.
Lots of ways. I mean,
so this is just one example of how to build a rain barrel. There's lots of other ways online. This is the way that I figured out to do it fairly cheaply using things that you can get at the hardware store, because I didn't want to have to mail order, parts from across the country, and I didn't want to have to pay $60 to make a rain barrel. I wanted something that would be a little cheaper and a little easier to build. Yes, ma'am. The question was, can you buy gutters in small pieces like this, or do you have to get it cut at the hardware store? I don't know that you can. I wouldn't doubt it. They're doing a lot of that kind of thing now where they're giving you short pieces.
So you can buy these individually, of course,
Right.
any of the 90s.
You can buy any of those.
In this sections, I've seen a few stores where they have them in 10-foot long sticks, and then they will have like a 4-foot stick as well. So you can buy this stuff in shorter sections, but it's fairly inexpensive. So and cuts relatively easily. So
what would you cut it with?
If you're skilled and have the tool and know how to use it, you could use a compound miter saw or a miter saw.
Okay, so you could use a power tool.
You can use a power tool. Yep, you can use hand cutters. Do we have any hand cutters here?
Oh, which kind?
Well, just like even tin snips or
tin
anything
snips?
like that.
I don't know if we have any tin snips here. I think we have some up in one of the other boxes, but
yeah, hacksaw. There you go.
Even something like this hacksaw, you can cut it with. So if you're retrofitting your house to work with this, you can figure out what height you want it and where you need the elbow to go. This 45, 90 degree bend, whatever that's going to be.
Right. And
you could cut it off with a hacksaw or with tin snips, or beavers probably aren't going to work.
Well, I have my house. My property line is only about 5 feet from the back of our house.
Okay.
And so I didn't want to put the barrel right there because it blocks going to the garden from the back of the house. So we made it, and I from the gutter, the water goes over it like a little water bridge, and then down, and it's kind of fun.
How fast does it have to drop?
Well, just enough to keep the water flowing. I mean, nothing, not obviously you can just not level, more than level, but it doesn't take much.
Okay.
About 1/8 of an inch per foot.
Okay.
So,
do you have any trouble with that bridge freezing up in the winter, or do you eliminate that in the winter?
So in the wintertime, I just take the plug out of the bottom, open up all the valves on this, and just let winter happen.
Okay.
It seems to be working so far. If your house is susceptible to damage, or you have water that you want to get away from the house, then I would divert it elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of ways to manage it.
All right. So now we got our water in our barrel. How do we get it back out?
Well, that's where the power tools come in.
That's where the power tools come in.
Yep.
How are you with power tools? Are you good with power tools? Okay. So what do we need power tool wise, Todd?
Well, we need a power drill.
Okay.
Or a drill. I guess you don't need a power. I mean, you could do one of the augers.
Oh, I've never tried to use one of those with a hole saw, but
I think the auger, the one trick about using these bits, and I don't know who told me this a long time, some wise old man.
Okay.
I think his name was Jason.
Okay.
He said to put these bits in a freezer first to get them really cold, so that when you go to cut through plastic, it doesn't melt the plastic and then make the hole bigger than what the bit's intended to cut.
Okay.
So, because a lot of times when you're cutting the hole, you want it to be exactly this size so that the threads, if you can see that, I don't know if you can see that or not, but the threads on the end of that are going to actually cut into some of that plastic that's left behind. And if it gets too big, it's just going to be free flowing. So,
with our design here,
we have a couple ways to go around that.
Right, we do have a couple ways of going around it. With our design here, we are trying to find use the fewest amount of tools possible.
Okay.
And the least expense possible. So what size drill are we using here?
This is is it a 1 inch?
No, I think it's a 1 inch. 20. Yep. I think it's 25 millimeter.
20.
Something like that.
5 millimeter. Yes.
Okay. Here, can you show that to the camera so they can see?
Yes. 25 millimeter.
So that's called a hole saw, and it will cut kind of like a wheel shape out of the out of whatever you're drilling.
And that is a guide point So the guide point drill.
Oh,
to
right.
help
It
you
has
out, so.
a little drill on a smaller drill on the inside.
Yep.
Okay. So if we're wanting to drain this thing, where do we want to put our drain? But then you're going to get all the sludge.
Well, not quite on the bottom.
Bree, where would you put it? 4 inches up.
4 inches up.
Why 4 inches? Just because that would sound good to you? Okay.
Good
Do you want to
number.
come show us? Okay.
Do we have a tape measure? Do we need to tape?
We could. Would you like a tape measure? To be exact. One of the nice things about she's measuring with her thumbs.
There you go.
Okay. So somewhere there. All right. Do you want to show us how it's done?
Do you want to be? What about this ridge? Here,
Oh, that
Jason?
ridge.
Is that an issue? You think?
I don't know.
I think I'd want to be below.
You want to go below
ridge.
the ridge a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Should we see what happens? Okay. We're going forward, so that's a good start. We're just going to stand here and watch you work. How about that? Okay. We got it.
Yep.
Beautiful.
That's it.
So we got a hole drilled in the side of the rain barrel now.
No turning back.
No turning back. Was that hard to do? No. Okay, good. All right. So we have our hole. Now we have a couple different ways we could do the valve on the bottom. The original way that I did it on these things was I got this little fitting here, which is a 3/4 inch by 1/2 inch reducer, threaded both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I put a little bit of silicone sealant around these threads, which we could do because we've got it here.
Well, this is caulk. You mean silicone or caulk?
Silicone sealant.
Now, why would you use silicone versus caulk?
Well, it doesn't matter if you want it to be able to expand and contract with the thing. You don't want it to necessarily get painted or anything like that.
Dry. And caulk, regular house caulk, dries.
It dries more solid, and so it doesn't flex as much.
So like on a silicone that you'd put around a tub.
Right.
For water.
Right.
Perfect.
Right. So from there, this 3/4 inch thread should thread almost exactly into that hole that we just drilled. So we could screw this in, thread it in, and if you have silicone on there, after you get that in, let that dry for 24 hours, and it will be set up enough that it's not going to just fall out and it's not going to leak. And then you can come along with a hose bib. This is called a hose bib, what most people call a faucet. And this is a 1/2 inch hose bib, and we could screw that right into that fitting. Do you think you'd need to have pipe dope or something on there?
There isn't any pressure to this, and when you're doing pipe, and I'll tell you that pipe is tapered on this, and it's not in here.
Right.
And so as you're tightening this on, you're tightening that to the point where it's sealing it. So it's getting larger in that fitting.
Okay.
And so it doesn't help to add some silicone. I'd like to see adding silicone only because if you find that you get to this point and you're sideways with your spigot and you're like this, you're like, oh man, and I don't have any more where to go, and you want to back it up.
Okay.
If you back it up and there's silicone in there, then the silicone actually seals it and keeps it sealed. Whereas you try to crank it again to get to that point, to get to this point, you could be going past this point, stripping the plastic, not being able to do it. So leaving the silicone, let it do its job. So
we did this design for the first couple that we did here at Community Homeworks, and we had a few people that had trouble with this piece leaking.
Yeah,
and so we came up with some other ideas on how we could do it.
What's this?
What is that?
You want to explain this?
Sure. This is what is it even called? I forget what it's called. This is a fitting that they sell at places like Tractor Supply and places like that. And I think it's called a bulkhead fitting. You'd have to have You'd have to make a bigger hole. So you'd have to get a hole saw that would cut this larger diameter here. I think that's probably 1.25 inches or so.
Yeah, much bigger.
And then this has a rubber seal here. and it's got another piece that comes from the inside and basically squashes that rubber seal. So you would put it through the side and screw this on, and it would squash that rubber seal. And then you could take that same faucet, that same hose bib, and screw this into the outside. The problem with this is going to make a very, very secure connection on the outside of the barrel. The problem that I see is now I haven't seen these at Lowe's and Menards and hardware stores. I've seen these more at specialty spots or places like Tractor Supply. Mm-hmm. Also, this one fitting is probably going to cost as much as all the other fittings combined.
Yeah.
So it usually costs $15 to $20 just for this one fitting. So if you can get around this and figure out another way to do it, it makes it a lot cheaper and it can still work.
For sure.
The new way that we had of doing this, courtesy of Brett Huckabee, we should probably give him credit, right?
For sure.
Okay.
This is the Brett technique.
This is the Brett technique. We take this. What are we going to call this? That's another reducer.
Reducer union.
Union. So it's threaded on. It's threaded on one side. There we go. Threaded on this side. This side is a slip fitting, so it would just be a friction fit.
Yep.
This side doesn't really matter. It's going to be sitting inside the rain barrel.
Yep.
We want to get a. Let's see. Do we have any rubber O-rings over there?
We do.
Because Brett would definitely use a rubber O-ring.
Yeah. This is a number 17, 1 1/16 outer diameter. You can see that.
So it's a little smaller than that inner diameter.
I can't. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
But it looks like that.
All right.
There you go.
So we're going to put this on the fitting here. Slide that up. So now we have a little rubber seal on this.
Yep.
The challenge now is we need to get this inside the barrel and out through that hole and hold it, which is a little bit of a contortionist trick.
So I'm going to put this barrel upside down over Jason.
Over me, okay. And then what?
And then he's going to be able to thread that through the other side.
You think so?
I bet.
Okay.
I mean, it's worth a shot.
How about if we just lay it on its side?
You can do that too, but I can hold it so that you don't seem to. Do you need me to put something on the?
I wonder if the microphone echoes in here.
There you go. It's through. So
All
you
right.
see how awesome.
So now it came out the other side, and now what do we do?
Well, did you have the fitting over there?
I did not.
Oh no,
I think
here
it's
we
still
go.
behind you. So now
we
we're
have
using
a
different type of spigot. This is called a boiler valve.
Boiler valve, yep.
And this is a 3/4 inch boiler valve that has female threads on it, so we can screw that onto that little piece of plastic there. But I need to hold on to that, otherwise it's just going to spin free inside. So I'm going to hold on. I'm going back in.
That's tightening pretty. That's getting pretty good. If you had silicone on that, that'd be done.
That'll be done?
Yeah, for sure.
And even
There's
without
question.
silicone, it's probably not going to leak much at all because there's very little pressure on that.
Yep.
So now we have a way to get it out. Now we could hook our hose on there. We could get our watering can underneath it.
Yep.
I
like it.
And there's
lots
just a
of
little
room for sludge.
Lots of room for sludge.
Actually, you know what I find is my hose. I have one rain barrel that is the hole is relatively low on it, and I will get a lot of blockage in the hoses that especially near the end of the year when there's a lot more coming, getting into the water.
Mm-hmm.
So having it up a little bit higher, I think is a smart move.
Okay.
So.
All right, so we have a way to get our water into the. Oh, that's not our lid. Where's our lid? Oh, it's over there. You put it behind you. So we have a way to get it in our bucket. Sorry, I'm not even on the video screen anymore. We have a way to get it out of our bucket. What else do we need? Anything?
Well, I mean, what if this gets full?
What if it gets full? It's just going to overflow, right?
Right. Well, I mean, yes.
Yes.
But what can you do to kind of remedy and maybe capture some of that overflow?
Okay, so what I do on mine and I realized I didn't pick up one of the fittings today when I stopped at the hardware store. There's a fitting that is similar to this guy here. Remember that one that we used for our original design? There's a fitting that's similar to that threads in with the same size 3/4 inch thread, but then on the outside it has the same thread as a hose. So it's called a garden hose.
It's a 3/4 inch garden hose to 1 inch
to 1 inch
1 inch pipe thread.
And it's two different threads. So if you get it reversed, it won't work quite right.
Right.
It's not going to hook onto your garden hose.
You need the one that in a hardware store. If you explain this to that is really what they're there for. Is the hardware stores are the best places to go because they'll have those fittings and they'll have them in PVC.
Right.
So and then you can buy a cap for it.
We would put that somewhere near the top where we want our top level to be. Drill the hole through, put that fitting in, and then we could put a hose on it and run it out into our yard.
Yep.
Or we could just let it sit like that, and when it gets full, it's just going to squirt out the side, as long as it's not so close to your house that it's running back into your basement.
Correct.
So on one of mine, I have it next to the garage. So I don't have a basement under the garage. I just have it sort of running out next to the garage, and it's not a big deal.
Right.
But in other situations, I would want it to go farther away.
Right.
My initial design, I drilled about a 3/8 inch hole up near the top and just drilled a hole. And I was really surprised how much water coming in. It would actually build up pressure and it would squirt out the side. It looked really cool to watch.
Oh yeah.
But this works a lot better. Tiana, you have a question. Do we dump the water before the winter? Good question. So we'll get there in just a sec. How about that? Let's finish this up.
Okay.
This is also, when we're doing the overflow piece, we also want to make sure that we're having that overflow come out the side in relationship to this spigot, the side that we want. If we want it to come out, around the corner, or if we want it to come out behind, we have to figure all that out first.
Set it up and say, okay, it'd be more convenient if it came out the back.
Right. And that could be.
Yeah. Or maybe put 2 or 3 so that you had the option, no matter where the rain barrel is, to be able to go. And you can cap these.
You could cap the others. That's true.
And then I have my hose going into watering cans.
Okay.
So not a series of cascading watering cans. That would be really cool. But
I visited my parents over the weekend, and my dad has one that I built for him, but he rigged it up so that it has a little short piece of hose going into a bucket.
Yeah.
So it just squirts out the side into a bucket, and then he fills up the bucket, and he can take that bucket and dump it wherever.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of different options there. Do we want to go ahead and put an overflow on this one? What do you think? What direction do you think it should go?
Really, any.
Do you care? Okay. So she said the spigot's going to be away from the house. And so we're just above the spigot? Okay. One of the other things that I had to learn the hard way with was if you drill too high up here, you end up drilling into the edge of the lid. And then you're kind of stuck with where you can put your lid. Otherwise, you could turn your lid and have your lid facing any way you want. I've had my same rain barrel in the same position, but have moved it so, this year I want the spigot on this side, and then, next year I want it on the other side. So you have a little bit more room to work with there. But yeah, you want it down below this first lip so that you aren't getting into the lid. Did you want to come and do that one too? Or are you having too much fun? Sorry, we're talking an awful lot here.
Do we have one of the fittings?
I don't have one of the fittings. How do we get that out of there, Todd?
Well, you do it screwdriver.
Oh, screwdriver. Let me see if I can find a screwdriver.
Just a flathead screwdriver. See, that's what it's almost melted from the heat on there, and so it stays. But there's these little slots on the side that you can loosen it up with. Kinda need a skinnier screwdriver.
He asked for a regular flat screwdriver, didn't he? And now he's telling me that I didn't give him the right one. Do you need something smaller?
I need a thinner screwdriver. One moment, we're under technical difficulties.
Hang on, I'm gonna have to run to the hardware store. I don't have a flathead. You're gonna have to use a thinner one that's not flat.
Okay.
But I think you can do it.
Oh yeah, we got.
I have faith in you.
We've got it with that. See, that just pops right out. Awesome. All right, doctor. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's fine.
Yep.
It's all up to what you want. Once again, we need to freeze that bit, I guess.
Is it melting it?
I think it's melting. You're doing a great job.
It'll cool down fast enough.
What's that?
It'll cool down fast enough to work. There we go.
Beautiful.
Perfect. Perfect.
So now we just need one of those fittings that goes from 1 inch, 1 inch pipe thread to 3/4 inch garden hose.
Yes.
And then we'll be golden.
Do we have another one on?
I don't think I have one on the other example that we had here either. I think we forgot them last time as well. But
I like the overflow so you can control it. I think that really, I think that makes a big difference. But, I mean, you could make a small water feature out of it. I mean.
Oh, you could. That's true.
I mean, have it be kind of like a.
That would be fun. Is there anything else that we need for this thing before we use it? Just that one fitting on the overflow. Is there anything else you would have on yours?
I can't think of anything else.
Okay. Can you think of anything else? You could paint it. Good idea. One of the challenges is with these plastic ones, the paint doesn't adhere real well, but there is special paint that you can get for plastic.
Yep.
And you could paint it. No, that's a great idea. I have a friend down in Indiana who every year he enters a hand-painted rain barrel in a competition with other hand-painted rain barrels, which I think is pretty cool. We might have to do that sometime.
We could do that.
We
Maybe
talked about
all over the community.
We could. We could just put community homeworks on the side.
Right.
Maybe not. We actually talked about at one of the past workshops where we had some Bell's Beer employees with us. We said it would be really fun to go to the Bell's Beer Garden after doing this and have a drink and paint a rain barrel. So we could have a second half of this class, but we're not to that point yet, so we can't do that.
Someday.
So we could paint it. Anything else? Tiana, do you have ideas for what else we need? The latch thing that we spoke of to keep it secure. So they do make a ring that goes around here, and I don't have that on any of mine, and I haven't had trouble with people climbing into it to take a bath or anything. One of the other things that I've thought about on mine at home, I've taken a piece of metal strapping and put screws down through the top and into the side of my garage so that when the kids are playing around, it can't fall off of the cement blocks and crush them. Because 8 pounds of water times 50 gallons
400 pounds
is 400 pounds of water falling on a kid. So that's a lot of water. That's a lot of weight. So you don't want that happening. So you want to make sure that you secure it somehow. Earlier, Tiana had asked, what do you do in the winter? So you said you just open up your valve. You leave the valve in place?
I leave the valve in place. I
just open it up and let it run on through?
Yep, leave it. Yep.
And it doesn't break in there?
It hasn't yet.
Okay. Do you get a nice icicle off the bottom?
You know, in one of my rain barrels, I have a plastic, just a turn knob, ball valve style. These are called gate valves.
Okay.
So these can take a little bit. They don't take as much weather as a ball valve would. A ball valve is just like a quarter turn and it's open. And these, there's a little bit more of the mechanism that can get water in them. But I think as long as you're not opening and closing in the winter, I don't water my garden in the winter very much.
Right.
So,
and see, I do something completely different with mine. I leave this closed, and in the fall, I take the lid off and stick it in the garage, and I take the rain barrel and I flip it upside down on the same blocks where I have everything else. And then I take my, where's my downspout? So I have a piece coming down like this where it goes into that funnel on the top of the rain barrel. And instead of doing that, I just take a piece of the downspout and I stick it so it shoots out over the side. And like I said, that one is by my garage, so it doesn't matter if it shoots out over. It gets a little farther away from the garage, but now it's protecting the rain barrel so that it's not freezing up in winter. So that's my way of dealing with that.
And you can clean, and it cleans it out.
You could what?
And it cleans it out.
It does clean it out. One challenge I've had with that one in particular is, well, I have to unscrew that thing on the top that keeps it from crushing my children.
Yes.
To do that, but then I have a different problem where the wind will hit it and take it, across the yard or into the neighbor's yard. And I haven't found a good way to deal with that other than just putting a brick or something on top.
The blocks.
Right. You could do that.
But
move
then
your
the blocks
up.
can fall in
the blocks fall on the kids then instead.
That wouldn't be good.
That wouldn't be good. So let's see. That would be winter. What other things do we have to be thinking about here? The city of Kalamazoo doesn't regulate water barrels as far as I have heard, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
No.
They don't care if you're collecting water or anything like that.
I would think if you're doing it in a rain barrel and safely, then yes. If you're collecting it and you're not protecting it from mosquitoes and other things like that, that's where it gets probably more against an ordinance of sorts.
Right. One of the other things I wanted to mention that I've done on some of mine is, since I have this hose fitting here, I can have another rain barrel next to it and run the hose out of this one into the next one. So instead of this overflowing, this one starts filling up the next one, the one that's right next to it. Yep. And so I could have multiple in a chain, and they're
only one gutter.
And only one gutter. So it's kind of a cool idea as well. Other questions before we finish up here? No other questions. All right. And have we gotten any questions online? No questions online either. I think everyone online is asleep, but that's okay. If you do have questions, feel free to write in the comment section or give us a call at Community Homeworks. I don't want to be over. I want to be off screen. Give us a call at Community Homeworks or email us at education@communityhomeworks.org, and we will try to answer those questions. Look, she put it on the screen and then she took it off. Nice. Next week, we have another workshop coming up on Tuesday. What do you think it should be, Tiana? How about a Lee Taylor class, like lawnmower maintenance would be a perfect one for next week. Perfect. So next week, we will be talking about lawnmower maintenance with Mr. Lee Taylor in this same space. If you would like to attend in person, please head on over to our website and visit the link that says you can register here, or you can also email us at the, it has the info@communityhomeworks.org instead of the education. Either one will get to us. That's fine. But register for that. You can come on out and hang out in the classroom with us in the air conditioning, because why not? Yeah. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope you learned a little something and hope you got your rain barrel situation figured out. If you end up building a rain barrel using our plans or modifying them, take a picture and send it to us. We'd love to see what you're doing. We'd love to see how you made it work in your situation.
For sure.
So, Todd, thank you very much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And thank you, Bree, for joining us, and Tiana and Kaylin and whoever else is out there in cyberspace. Have a great night.
Bye.